The 1980 Hague Convention on International Parental Child Abduction was designed to ensure the swift and safe return of children who are taken across international borders by one parent without the other parent's permission. It's usually very effective, but there's a problem. The convention was originally designed to deal with fathers who abduct children and to protect mothers and children, but that's changed. Now, in over 75% of cases, the abducting parent is the mother. Many of them are fleeing domestic abuse.
There's nothing that actually protects a fleeing mother and child. No local justice, no international justice, nothing.
The convention forces children, and therefore mothers, to return to the country they have fled. Leaving an abuser is terrifying, fleeing across borders doubly so. Mothers are leaving their homes, their jobs, their friends. They're traumatized and often in fear of their lives. They try to flee to safety, and then the Hague Convention hits them.
Being in court was so terrifying, so stressful that it has left me traumatized. And then they sent my sons back to the man who was beating me, raping me.
Hague mothers are rarely entitled to legal aid. There are not many specialist lawyers available, and they only have a few weeks and sometimes only a few days to prepare their case. The only defence available to them is Article 13b of the Convention. The court does not have to order the return of a child if the mother can prove that there is a grave risk that returning them would expose them to physical or psychological harm or place them in an intolerable situation. But grave risk is interpreted very narrowly. Domestic abuse against the mother is rarely seen as a grave risk or intolerable situation for the child, in spite of extensive evidence to the contrary. Children are almost always returned to the country and often into the care of the abusive parent.
My ex has filed a hate convention case against us after we fled Ireland last year. I just know they're going to send my kids back and then I'll have to follow. But what happens to us when we get there? What if he kills us?
Mothers must choose whether to return with their children or send them back alone. Those who do return face post-separation abuse, destitution, homelessness, isolation, and sometimes even criminal proceedings. They often have no family and no support networks, a textbook context for continued abuse.
It is not in any child's best interest to grow up with a mother who is isolated or unemployed and depressed, trapped in a foreign country by an abusive ex-partner. There has never been a single day when I have felt safe or felt that my children were safe here.
We, Hague mothers, aim to end this injustice with the help of international support from lawyers, domestic violence professionals, academics, women's groups, human rights activists, child psychologists, the Hague mothers themselves, and the general public. We call on the Hague Secretariat to recognise the grave risk and intolerable situation caused by exposure to domestic abuse. Where domestic abuse is alleged, we ask for the following amendment to the Convention. Legal aid for mothers. A rebuttable presumption of no return. Welfare hearings held in a safe location. The views and wishes of the child to be fully considered. And a restriction on the use of protective measures to defeat Article 13b. We are the Hague Mothers. We're an unstoppable global movement for justice. So I would like to introduce you to some real Hague mothers. Many of these women are silenced by the secrecy of the family courts. They could be imprisoned if they speak out, which could happen to me too, actually. So this is Sarah Marie. She sought asylum with her sons in Canada because their father had tried to kill her and beat them. They were not protected by the family courts in the USA. They were not protected by Canada either. Sarah Marie was arrested with a gun to her head. She was charged in the US with felonies for abduction. She has not seen her children for 3.5 years. This is Jan Ford. She's the author of a book called The Loving Abductor. She was sent back to France from the UK to the man who had abused her. The French police told her that she and her son were not safe in France. And so she was forced to go on the run. UK law now accepts that children are the direct victims of the abuse of their mothers. However, judges in Hague cases almost never accept that. Like one of the women in the video said, you cannot argue that putting children into a situation where their mothers are controlled, abused, jobless, isolated, homeless is in their best interests. But that is the exception, the norm, and not the exception. Actually, I also wanted to say, when you force mothers and children to go on the run because you won't protect them, you put them into an extremely vulnerable situation. They cannot live normal lives at all. This is Anita Guerra. So she was in the UK with the father's consent with her children. He filed a Hague case against her, nevertheless, which is not unusual. She lost and returned to the US with her children. She was in court in a custody case within 24 hours of landing in the USA and lost custody of her children. She has not seen her children for 8 years now. Like me, she was ordered by the family court to pay maintenance for the privilege of having an abusive man bring up her children. If she goes to America, she would risk being arrested. Jane's First Nations daughter was forced out of Australia back to her abusive father in Belgium, even though the court found that this would cause an intolerable situation for this child. This 3-year-old little girl has not seen her mother for 6 months now. This decision of the court was a violation of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. All of these cases that you see involve abuses of the UN Declaration on the Rights of the Child and other pieces of international law. But judges do not consider that international law is applicable, or the human rights law is applicable to family law cases. Bella, the Hague Convention was used preemptively to trap her, a British full-time mother, and her children in the USA by her wealthy ex-husband while they went through custody proceedings. The father now has sole legal and physical custody of the children. I believe that the Hague Convention is being used as a form of trafficking of mothers and children. The way that mothers and children are treated in the family courts in the USA is becoming more and more extreme. Not many people realize that there is an enormous problem with corruption in the US justice system. This is an issue that doesn't only affect family cases, and I believe that our courts in the UK and Europe are going the same way if we don't take action. This is a democracy issue which affects all of us. Anna is a US mother of 4 who relocated with her husband to Switzerland. He became violent and threatened to kill her. He returned to the USA and threatened to take custody of the children if she returns. She believed him. So she's been trapped with no help from the courts in Switzerland for 11 years. She is $1 million in debt because of all of the legal fees that she's been forced to pay, and because the US courts ordered that she must cover the private health insurance for herself and 4 children with no income. Anna believes that the lawyers and the judges who put her through this torment have enjoyed seeing her suffer. I believe Anna. This is Janelle. Her son lived with her in France. She was only in a casual relationship with his father, but nonetheless, she promoted her child's relationship with his father. But after a holiday in the UK, the British father filed a Hague case against her. She was arrested. Her child, who was, I believe, about 10 months old at the time, was taken